One of the things that you've done, and I think it's a great contribution, is try to demystify and simplify the process of establishing who we are in our identity. Now, most of us would say, well, I don't need a lot of help knowing who I am. I'm a guy in the film business, drive a nice car, I have a house, I've got a beautiful wife, I've got a kid who's in school. Okay, I've got all these things. I believe sometimes I'm a Democrat and sometimes I believe I'm a Republican. So I have all these beliefs and I have all these memories, specific things from when I was a child and when I grew up. And I have these feelings which seem to be unique to me when they're going on in me. They're not going on in you. And so I sort of think I already have this clue about, who am I. I sort of even wonder when I start one of these interviews, why in the world would I even care to investigate who I am?
Well, I think that's a really good question, and I think people start walking down these paths for different reasons. A lot of times people don't even start asking questions like that until they're older. When I was a psychotherapist, the people that were asking questions like, who am I, what's it all about, Alfie kind of questions, existential stuff, they were well along into their late 30s, 40s, 50s. They had done everything that our culture said, if you do this stuff, you're going to be happy. Get all this money, get all these accoutrements of wealth, and then you're going to be satisfied. You're going to have a sense of purpose and value. And the people that would show up, a lot of times, in that age group, had realized that, hey, this was hollow, this was tinny. They had been worshiping at the wrong altar, that the gods that they had been bowing down before them were kind of like, it was the existential twilight of the gods. It was not as satisfying. I remember one guy told me he was like 45 years old. He was a CEO of some big company and millions of dollars every year as part of their gross product. And he said, I've been working all my life climbing up the ladder of success only to realize that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. And I thought that was rather clever and cleverly put, but really kind of sad because he had no sense of purpose. He had gotten up there to the top, looked around, and did not see a vista that he thought was really worth looking at. Frequently, these people who have everything and who have gone through all of the, hoops and loops and stuff to get to what was considered to be a really wonderful place, with all the wealth and power, they felt very empty and they felt very sad and they felt very depressed, clinically depressed. And often I would have to refer them to a doctor for some kind of clinical, for some kind of diagnostician who would give them some kind of Zoloft or some kind of anti-depressive kinds of medications, which would help to stabilize them for the therapy then to follow. But frequently it had to do with a disenchantment with what is, a realization that their life had been wasted for decades going after what amounted to something that was hollow and not really of substantive value, that the stuff that they had achieved had no real heart to it. And they wanted heart, and they felt empty, and they did not know where to go for that. A lot of them were disenchanted with organized religions, and they felt they probably were not atheists, not the ones that I was remembering, but they were certainly leaning towards the agnostic camp. They felt, I don't know what that is, and I don't go to church, and I don't have a spiritual base, and nothing seems satisfying, and I feel depressed. And so from that point, I slowly invite them to walk down a path and into a dialogue where they would begin to question, who am I? Well, then who are you? Are you really your thoughts and your memories and all the stuff of your past, your story? And I kind of likened it to, remember the old story with Christmas Carol with Jacob Marley, dragging all the chains and stuff, that we drag all these chains with our stories through our life, and we get so attached to them, but they weigh us down and they stop us and they hold us back from experiencing the aliveness that we really want to feel. And so these guys, and it's mostly guys that I saw, really resonated at that, and they said, yeah, I really don't know who I am. And so I would give them different books to read or suggest that they read different books, and we have these dialogues about who am I and what's it all about and what can I do to improve my life and to feel more satisfied and not specifically productive, but in a sense of calmness and centeredness in my life where I feel okay about my life and I don't feel shaky and filled with anxiety and depression all the time and worried about the business and worried about my wife and worried about the kids and the mortgage and all the stuff of life. How can I get beyond that? This can't be all that there is. And that's what their plaintive cry was to me, and that's how we began to walk down those paths.